Today we're going to talk about a food dependency such as bulimia, compulsive overeating, and just binge eating. It's a very sad topic, but not so scary as anorexia nervosa. It's all based on an anxiety disorder combined with depression very often. People who suffer from compulsive overeating usually suffer from depression as well. Many overweight people suffer from depression. And don't believe in this myth that an overweight person is completely happy, because overweight brings a lot of trouble. Elementary, somatic, constant disorder, blood pressure, diabetes. They can't have sex, they can't go up the stairs. They can see all those hard, distorted looks very well. Girls don't like them, or vice versa. A woman is not appealing to men, but the patient has a psychological defense mechanism, rationalization. They explain it to themselves, they make it up, they accept this fact, and so on and so forth. I am happy, I like myself a lot, I am fat and happy, and it's great. Although they understand very well they might have 5-10 years left to live. Fat people don't live long, especially Americans. Russia is not so bad, but in America, there is a colossal number of really fat people. If you thought you had seen fat people, no, you haven't. What happens in America, if you haven't been to America, it's something incredible. Let's talk about reasons. And what is the major trap they fall into with bulimia? As soon as she starts controlling her weight, focusing on it, it goes out of control, out of the system. Because in the body, everything is working automatically. Your breathing and pulse, and if you're focusing too much on it, you get your panic attacks and so on and so forth. Because your body likes to work by itself, so nobody intrudes or interferes with it, not putting your hands on it. And when you do it, there's a setback. What is the reason? Mostly there are 3 reasons. The biological reason, genetic determinism. What kind of biological disorders? The endocrine system disorders, the central nervous system disorders. If we're talking about the social factor, America is a very vivid example. This summer I went to buy a donut and I said, "Can I have 1 donut?" And they say, "Why do you want 1 donut? Take 3 and get 10 free." I resisted. I could resist. But I don't know if I would be able to resist the next day or in a year, or in 2 or 3. There is such a silly theory that healthy food is very expensive. Nonsense. In America, all food is very cheap. Fruit costs as much as all these pastries. I actually like observing overweight people, especially in an all-you-can-eat buffet. The correlation is simple. As much as you have in your plate, the same amount you have on your body, on your bum and on your belly. I've never seen an overweight person with a parsley and a cucumber. Fat doesn't go out of nowhere. It goes out of fridge. I really like this saying. Let's talk about etiology. My favorite psychological factors. What is the story? A child is growing in stressful conflict situations. Especially, you can see it very well, a distorted attitude. Sometimes you look at children and you think, why do people have overweight children? The nutrition is very distorted. I had my first daughter when I was 17. I had no idea how to love her, and I loved her in a very distorted, indirect, strange way. I fed her like a doll, gave her yummy food, warmed it up for her. She was my toy. I didn't know how to say I love you or give her a hug. I treated her rather cold and strict, but at the same time I was constantly feeding her. Now she is 19 years old, and you can see it very well, this example, how this psychological factor, the distorted factor, influenced her now. She suffers from binge eating. At some point she comes undone and starts eating. She eats because I grounded this in her childhood by food. What does she get? Love, safety, protection, warmth, care. This is what she gets. What does the child feel at breastfeeding? Why do people overeat very often? They get this safety, care, support, attention. My dear son, the son has grown and now he's trying to compensate it with burgers, mommy's love, to get filled with it. Let's talk about symptoms and behavior, especially in bulimia. It's more or less clear with binge eating. What about bulimia? It's constant diuretics and enemas. Constant enemas, throwing up, gastric suctions, fasting, an attempt to focus your attention on numbers on the scale. Moving on to more psychological language, an attempt to control your life, control the numbers. She shifts her attention from an unresolved issue that she cannot control. She's not ready to resolve it right now, to weight control. What happens? Once again, I'm going to voice it. Looking for pleasure, yes, it's one of the major reasons. Looking for tranquility and love, understanding. Or to grow a shell. Why is it important to see what lies in the metaphor? What is in the idea of gaining this weight, overeating? Gaining weight as a shell, as a defense. You can see it very well in our traffic patrol police officers. They are constantly stressed. He might get caught taking bribes. So they overeat. They have this defense. They also have a mustache. It's like a shell to protect yourself. This is what is happening because of fear. To downplay stress very often. To eat in order to fight stress, to relieve anxiety. While I'm nibbling on something, it's easier for me. Some people bite their nails. Some people nibble on chips. Alright, what other moment? To get filled. For example, Americans, you can see it very well in Americans, that overweight people love shows. They jump on these amusement rides, jump onto the cars, 600 pounds, and they go to different Hollywood shows, zoos, water parks. They really like it. They like amusement. It's very seldom that you can see an overweight person in a philharmonia or a museum, or see them writing Master of Philosophy thesis. They are looking for this spiritual and emotional fulfillment in a simple way, with simple joy. They're trying to get filled in an easy way. To get filled simply. What else did I want to say? I mentioned this to shift attention. Okay. Let's talk about psychotherapy. Let's move on gradually. If we're talking about hospitalization, which is actually very rare, mostly anorexic patients get admitted to the ward. And sometimes one disease goes into a different disease. It used to be anorexia, now it's bulimia. This is the way. Anorexic patients come more frequently to the ward. So if the patient gets admitted to hospital, there's a team of specialists working, a gastroenterologist, nutritionist, neuropathologist, psychiatrist, endocrinologist. They all work out a single plan if the patient is at the ward. Next, they go through group therapy where they learn to resolve interpersonal conflicts with other patients, because very often this is the root of the problem. And cognitive behavioral therapy is carried out. It's based on the idea, what lies underneath, what kind of distorted idea is at the basis of the disorder. Next, talking about the behavioral moment, there are interesting behavioral programs which are created specifically for each patient. A nutrition plan, little tricks, how you write it on the food. This is the food that I need to eat and purge. little secrets that I only start eating 30 minutes later, then 2 hours later. It's very interesting, but they are very, very individual for each patient. And of course, my favorite psychotherapy that I carry out when the patient with bulimia or anorexia come to me. Of course, we work with the deepest interpersonal conflict, with the basis that triggers all these sick idea, this disordered neurotic behavior, because patients with a food disorder are the same addicts. Their motivational and will component is decreased. So we work in this direction. That's it for today. I wish you all the best. Waiting for you at my Skype consultations.